Ladies and gentlemen, two major changes have happened in US that's impacting their import rules, and this was set to change the economic destiny of many countries, including China, Malaysia, and even Singapore. Let's watch on and see what these two rules are and what's the impact to the rest of the world. So to start off, there are new US import rules, and many countries will be directly hit by these tariffs. And I'll brief everybody what it is, but to start off, I'll give people a flavor. US has just ended a duty-free de minimis, and that requires low value imports into US to now pay tariff, and they also now require prepaid tariffs on international mail. And I think these are all new rules that are set, and let's watch and see what are these. As usual, this content is for education and entertainment only, not financial advice. Please subscribe to more breaking news as we update it. So the background to this news is that someone in our community wrote to me and said that he's from a logistic company and suddenly was hit by these two rules. And he sent me all the details and found that these rules have phenomenal impact to global trade. So what has changed, right? This is called Executive Order 14324. It suspended the $800 de minimis for all countries. What on earth is this? So de minimis is a custom rule. If the minimum value of the import goods is less than $800, then these goods can come into US without paying tariff and taxes. And this is to help to simplify custom clearance. These rules have just changed. So this $800 de minimis rule has just been scrapped. So it means that now low value shipments will no longer come into US duty free, and therefore millions of cross-border transactions will now be impacted. Now in Singapore, we do have a similar rule as well. I think the quantum is about 400 Singapore dollars. I don't know whether it's still there. I think you can actually ship some of the items inside Singapore if your item is one iPhone cable, some low value power bank and things like that. They usually don't tax you. But if your value is high, then they will tax you. They have a similar rule in US, but they totally scrap this benefit and this privilege. So this one is rule number one that's been scrapped. Another big change that's happened right now is in the past, it has always been importer pay the duties. So all the tariffs that have been imposed so far, the importers pay it. So US company will pay for the US tariffs, and then they decide how much to pass it on to consumer or how much they have to eat themselves. But right now, the rules have just changed. The duties must be prepaid. So the sender, which is the exporter, which export into US, must pay for the tariff before the package arrive in US. Now, this is quite a big difference because the sender, carrier, or qualified party must go to this place called Pay.gov and pay those taxes first. And in case the shipment arrives without prepayment, they will face a potential of that goods get stuck at the customs or face penalties or serious delays. So this is quite a dramatic change, and this marks a change from the traditional model of an importer pay model now to exporter or the logistic company prepay model. So just to give you more detail, in the past, goods that comes in through UPS, FedEx, maybe even DHL into US, the importer will have to pay for the import duties. But right now, the exporter that export into US have to work with the logistic companies or the delivery company to have them all paid. So international mail duty worksheet submission through Pay.gov, so it's a lot of administrative nightmare. Postal operators must comply or ease US-bound services. Wow. So there's a lot of things that needs to be done. They need to be filled via ACE, Automated Commercial Environment System. Express carriers have existing infrastructure but require updates. So basically, these apply to all types of goods entry. regardless of origin, right? Even if you have to pay 10 cents, $1, you have to prepay. So there is a lot of details for number one is that they have to complete a paperwork. Okay. Well, that's not that too difficult. They have to secure a continuous bond of 50,000 or 10% of annual duties, which are higher. So you have to park a set of money with the US government first, file monthly worksheets, okay, and then remit payment, pay all duties by the 7th working day or so. Failure to finish any of these steps will result in immediate shipment disruption. So right now, what's happening? Many of the postal operators just stop this kind of service. Why? Because many of the postal company lack immediate ability to collect and prepay tariffs. So the postmen come, they just drop off the box and go off. Now they have to go to the go to the customer, okay, and collect the payment, which is very tough. Or they have to go to the exporter and collect payment. So most postal company say that, wow, this problem land onto me, right? I don't want to solve this problem. So imagine this, okay? Last time, okay, this is Alibaba. Alibaba got, I don't know, 10,000 companies, okay? Little companies like this all send their parcel into US in little forms, right? Each one $10, $20, $5, whatever. And they all go to UPS, and UPS happy, okay, or USPS, happy, just collect all these parcel and just send it to the customers. Easy, right? Now cannot. You have to collect. You have to collect. You have to collect the tariffs from the exporter. Now, it's one thing to collect from one, party, like let's say Alibaba or so, but you have to go to individual companies and collect one by one. These postal operators will die. Alternatively, they want to collect money from the consumer, okay, but that's, first of all, that's not allowed by the current rules. But the postman usually just throw the parcel at the door and walk away. Now they wait for the customer to be around to collect the money, or send them a note to prepay and things like that. Oh man, it's just too difficult. Very simple. Postal company say, 林北卖走了, right? I don't want to do this business anymore. And as a result, okay, Europe and Asia Post temporarily halted all US shipment within 24 hours of the announcement. Gradual resumption, uh, expect once compliance system are built, okay, with varying time. So they don't really know all these compliance system, how long you built. It could be anything between weeks to months and so on. So right now, there is a lot of disruption. The biggest disruption comes from China, because there are a lot of platforms like Temu, Shein, AliExpress, and Alibaba and so on. They are hit with approximately 60% of small parcel that originated from China. This represents an unprecedented disruption to global e-commerce flow. This is a big hit to China in a massive way. Just to let you know, someone will say, yeah, if it's a $20 item, 10% tariff, 20% tariff, not that big. Well, that is true, but think about more than the tariff. Let's assume that it's a 10% tariff, okay? For a $20 item, they pay $2. Not very big, right? Then there's administrative and handling fee, right? These guys, who have to set up all this infrastructure and get people to do it. All these postal companies, logistic companies, they're not going to do it for free. So guess what? They'll then spread it out, right? So maybe $1 to $3. And then remember, we told you, right? The logistic company have to put a bond with a US government, right? That's $50,000 or so. And they now have to prorate these compliance bonds with across all the goods. So maybe 50 cents or so. So right now, the price has just gone up significantly. Now, products that have thin margin will become uneconomical under the new regime. So this is potentially going to hit exporter quite hard. Now, moving forward, we do expect some of these logistic and postal company to be able to solve this thing. If not, their business hit, right? So postal companies must develop duty collection system, integrate with the US government, and the compliance infrastructure is not built yet. So the only companies that have this system are generally companies like DHL, FedEx, and UPS and all this. But they have to adapt their system to prepay models and so on, right? So all these are just pain and to the infrastructure. What if you don't comply? Well, the immediate problem is if you don't comply, the package will get stuck at the port of entry. So it gets stuck at the port and you can't collect the thing. and then you may get charged more for every day that you don't pay the tariffs. And now days of clearance of the goods will get longer. The customers not happy, they cancel it, okay? And the exporters will have to take back the goods, or if they want to take back the goods, destroy the goods. So all these are not good. There could be financial penalties. So there could be duties, assessment with interest, and penalties up to 100%. And collection agency, there will be some referral fee. And operational impact will be there. Suspension of import privileges, marketplace account restriction, loss of buyer's trust and repeat business. And all these basically could affect the businesses of the exporter into US, which is the biggest market in the world. So that's on the micro level, but on the macro level, it simply means that many countries that have businesses that send shipment into US, okay, will now be hit. And on the $800 relief, and for those businesses have to now pay the tariff first before the goods can go in, then there is a reluctance probably on the importer side to take on this bill as well. So it is now a huge a shift of owners of the tariff. So I think that a lot of countries that rely on all this will be hit terribly. So this is also a timely news that I break this news that Singapore inflation is actually cooling and cooling faster than expected. Now, a lot of people will say, Mr. Lu, how can inflation cooling be a bad thing? Well, it is, because we always think that inflation is a bad thing. But when the inflation go down and down and down and down to very low level, it simply means that there is a loss of demand in a huge way. So this is not a good sign, because it simply means that economic activity is slowing down. And in fact, the Singapore inflation level is cooler than expected, and is a lower since January 2021. So it is a worrying sign of contractionary demand. But the key takeaway is this, that global trade right now is at risk. I don't think US will be hit much, okay? US, they just need to be afraid of inflation, which I don't think they'll be hit inflation, because there's so many goods coming into US. Everybody will compete against each other. Everybody's business now is lesser. They will have to eat the tariff. So imports into US could potentially get pricier. If there's an inflation impact, is at most a short term. I'm not even sure whether there will be an inflation impact. But one thing for sure, imports into US will get less. And therefore, this trade balance will get better in favor of US. And those people who always think the US dollar will weaken and become 1:1 with Singapore dollar, I don't think this day will happen. I think a lot of the non-US business will be hit, especially for China, India, and many other low-value product exporting countries into US. So right now, I think this is also a timely situation where I just like to share every people with an entrepreneurial work or aspiration, is that there's never been such a time that other companies outside US are so hungry, they're dying for business. So you might want to consider taking advantage of this as well. As for a stock market, it's hard to say. I think for US will be okay. Rest of the world, difficult to say, okay? Very difficult to say. I think Singapore will be hit, Malaysia will be hit in a significant way. So we'll just watch on and see what the impact will be. Watch the next video for something very interesting. Let's watch on, shall we?